Welcome to A Few Thoughts About, the show where we dig into thinking and how it shapes our experience of life. Each week, I share insights and observations to get you thinking. No long lectures, just quick, thought-provoking episodes to shift perspectives so that you can make the change you want to make. Let's get into it. Well, hey, before we start the show, I want to let you know that if coaching is something you want to try and you're interested in talking to me about it more, I have one-on-one coaching slot left. No matter what it is that you want to change, if you want to change your relationship with alcohol, you want to change the way you think or the way life feels, or you just feel like doing some deep dive coaching into your thoughts and the way things feel is going to be beneficial for you, which hint, hint, it will be, I would love to talk to you. So there is a link in the show notes that will bring you to a page where you can book some time with me. I love having these discovery calls. It is very low pressure. It's just a fun chat, right? I want to know about you and kind of what's going on with your life. I will talk about my process and how it works. If it's a fit, great. We'll talk about getting started. If it's not, I'll help you find something that is a better fit. No matter what, I want you to leave that call with a clear next step. So I have one-on-one coaching slot left. If you would like that slot, go to the link in the show notes. It would be fantastic to work with you. All right, let's get going. Well, hello there, and welcome to A Few Thoughts About the End Goal. This is something that comes up in pretty much every single coaching engagement I have, especially when I get started with somebody. And it usually goes something like this. I'll ask the question, all right, what is it that you want? Like, where are you going, right? And if it's something around alcohol, it is inevitably I want to quit drinking, or I want to moderate. That's another common one as well. And these goals oftentimes feel like this faraway thing that we have to work toward, that we have to push toward, that we have to figure out. And for a lot of people, there's something they've been trying to achieve for a long time and just haven't been able to, right? There's something that they're trying to push for, to figure out, to, just somehow get there. And they try lots of things, right? Books and podcasts and everything else. And then we end up having this conversation and they're seated in front of a coach. And then the coach asks them, what is your end goal? Now, oftentimes, what I will see is people will define the end goal, with, again, alcohol as an example, in terms of the substance. So I want to not drink alcohol. I want to drink less alcohol, right? Whatever that looks like, right? And everyone has different versions of that. But there's something I want to talk about. Actually, there's a couple of things I want to talk about with that, because one thing that I find really interesting, having gone through this process myself and having engaged with other people who are going through it, just to be direct about it, we have no idea what we're talking about when we make these goals. It's really difficult, especially if we're stuck with something like alcohol. It's really difficult to see what that life would be like. So we almost define this thing of I want to not drink. And while off the bat, we can probably think of a whole bunch of positive reasons why not drinking is good, right? Not having hangovers, not spending the money, not being, having fights with partners, all this stuff, right? All this stuff that we know is bad, that we know will go away. There is an equal amount of stuff that we have no idea how to handle, right? Social stuff. Engagement with work stuff, dealing with stress, dealing with sadness, dealing even with happy feelings, all of this stuff, we just don't know how we're going to deal with it. And so when we lay out the goal like this, when we're my goal is to never drink again, part of that goal is very exciting. And part of that goal is really scary. This is important to understand, because that scary part of the goal is often not really seen, right? Especially in these moments, which we've all had, these moments of, I'll call them extreme motivation, when we're we wake up in the morning and we're I am never drinking again. That feels really good, but it's because we're only thinking of half of the situation. And so what happens is we make this decision, we make this declaration, we get all psyched up about it. And then, maybe we go a day or two, or if you're like me, you don't even make it to the end of that day and you're rethinking the whole thing. and you're spending a bunch of time saying, well, maybe it should be this, maybe I'll quit this weekend. Maybe, you know what? I have some scotch left. I should do one last night, just like one last night. I'm going to miss it anyway. So like I should just do that this weekend and then Sunday or Monday, and how the rest of it goes, right? This happens because we are not fully prepared for that end goal, because we can't see the path between here and there. So like when it comes to something like fear of stress, for example, like stress is one of the top ones that comes up, right? When we're in this process of quitting drinking, we get really excited about the end goal, but then we don't pay attention to, say, stress. And then what starts to happen is we start to feel stress, and then we start to be a little bit uncomfortable because it feels like we're not prepared. It starts to feel like we can't handle it. And before we know it, we're running on willpower, and that runs out, and boom, we're right back in the cycle. So this is why I want to talk about the end goal, because I think for many of us, the end goal of never drinking again is too big to think about. It's too big. It's like, it's very difficult for us to imagine anything forever, right? It's very hard. You can imagine something for a week. You can imagine something for a few days. You really can't imagine something forever. And so it is okay to have that goal. Like I know for me, when I started this process, I really wanted to quit forever. I wanted to leave it behind me, and like all of it, right? The headaches, the hangovers, the blacking out, like all of it, right? I wanted all of it behind me. And I think that that's a fine thing, but clinging too hard to, I will never drink again, has a negative effect as well. Right? Because of those unseen fears, especially when we're really motivated. So what to do, right? What do we do with this? Well, one of the ways that I like to talk about this with people is it is fine to have, kind of what I call like a blue sky, like a big picture goal. Like, you know what? I think someday I would like to be fully alcohol free. Like, I think someday I would like to never drink again. I think that's great. That's a wonderful thing. But in terms of the goal for right now, one of the main things we can do is actually get some sort of duration under our belt and make that part of the goal, right? So this is piece one of like, all right, I'm going to be alcohol free for this weekend or this week or whatever it might be, right? And I know we've talked about this before. There are other episodes where I talk about some of this stuff. Certainly the episode on progress is one of them. The episode on focus is one of them. The episode on one decision, right? So if this is interesting to you, you can go back and listen to those episodes. And the point that I'm trying to make is that if our goal is closer in time, is more achievable, we are going to feel so much better, so much sooner, right? So if your goal is, say, a week, you are going to get through a week faster than you're going to get through the rest of your life. At least I hope. You're going to get through that so much faster. And so you're going to be able to celebrate so much sooner. And it's that celebration that can really get us moving, right? So one of these things is to define a goal. Like if you want to have a time-based goal, which can be very, very helpful, is to define something shorter. And in doing so, say, hey, after this week, if I want to drink again, I totally can. So I'm going to go a week, and after this week, if I want to go back to drinking, totally fine. And I want you to mean it. It sort of shortens your view to just this goal, and then that allows you to focus on actually making it, which again, you can celebrate, right? So the first thing is being able to sort of let go of this big, huge end goal of being alcohol-free forever and focus on a duration. The other thing, and this is big, a lot of times people end up making the goal about the substance, right? So I want to have less of fill in the blank, right? Like I want to have less of alcohol in my life. I want to have less hangovers. I want to have less, on and on and on. One thing we don't do a very good job of is defining what that end goal actually is, right? We can define what it isn't, but it's difficult to define what it is. Now, I can hear some of you saying, but Scott, like, I don't know what it is, because I haven't lived that way. Like I know for me, there wasn't a period of my adult life where I was alcohol free before I quit. So what that meant was that like, I had no idea. It was very difficult for me to define what that's going to be like. And here's the thing. We don't have to define it perfectly, right? You don't have to know exactly how it's going to feel. As a matter of fact, you won't. As a matter of fact, there are going to be things, which we've talked about before with stress or dealing with work or dealing with relationships or just dealing with life, that you're going to have no clue how to deal with. And that is absolutely okay. Like 100% okay. But you might not know how to deal with those things, but you will be able to put your best guess out there. So you will be able to say, you know what? I'm going to love waking up on a Saturday morning without a headache. Well, that's a fine goal, right? That doesn't require the rest of your life. And that's creating something that's going to be happening soon. It's creating something that's going to give you motivation. And it's very real and it's very concrete. So try not to hold these goals too tightly, right? Be able to say, you know what? This big picture goal is great. Right now I'm focusing on a week or a month or whatever that is, and define those goals in other ways. I want to wake up on Saturday without a headache. I want to remember game night with my buddies. I want to not be embarrassed when I take out the returnables. That one, I know that one all too well, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be big. But if we start to define goals in that way, you start to do something really cool, which is you get these wins sooner, right? You'll get through that week sooner than you'll get through the rest of your life. You'll get to that Saturday morning without a headache sooner than you'll never drink again. And this builds momentum. And this is a key thing that I think because of, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why we do this, and maybe this is another episode, but because of the sort of heavy nature of the problem, we think we need a heavy solution. So because the problem's so heavy, I have to say, I'm never going to drink again, right? Because I let down my wife or my kids or what, or partner, whatever it is, right? That I have to say, I'm never going to do this again. But that is not clear thinking. The reality is you don't live the rest of your life all at once. You don't need to carry the rest of your life all at once. And so if you actually make these commitments on a smaller scale, and if you actually define them in terms of qualities of what your life is going to be like, as opposed to what is not going to be in your life, you start to create momentum. And so you decide to go for a week. And you get through that week and you're like, you know what, I'm going to try another week. And you get through that week and you're like, all right, I just did 2. Maybe I'm going to try 3 weeks, right? And you start to feel like you can do it because you're actually building that confidence in yourself. You're not setting a goal so big that it feels impossible, that you buckle under the weight of, which is not a you problem, by the way. It's something all of us do. So spend some time thinking about the real end goal. I understand that for many of us, it's never drinking again. But if you can break that down and if you can focus on these smaller pieces, if you can focus on the duration, if you can focus on what your life is going to be like, not what you're taking away from it, man, it can totally change the process. And if you have a place where you can go discuss this stuff, if you're joining us over in Present and Sober, which is still open, by the way. So if you're not in Present and Sober, come check us out. No matter where it is, have a place and an opportunity to discuss this stuff. Right? Have these conversations, because having conversations and looking at this is what really starts to shift your focus, and it really starts to shift how you feel. So let go of that huge big end goal, make a smaller, seemingly more achievable goal, and really focus on what is going to be added to your life, not what's taken away. Those 3 things can change how this process feels tremendously. All right. Well, there you go. There's a few thoughts about the end goal. Tell me what you think. Head on over to scottpeniard.com/podcast. There you will be able to send me notes. You can suggest topics, any of it. Reach out, say hello. Like I said, I say this every week and it's true. And I always get emails, and I want to thank you. Those of you that write in, I love hearing from you. So scottpeniard.com/podcast. You can go over there to say hello, send me any sort of note you want. That is it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll be back again next week.